Some tragic news in the world of soccer commentating today as the legendary John Motson passed away. Motti was well known in the British soccer circles for his major calls for the BBC for almost 4 decades. He also made some famous cameos otherwise, but anyway, he was a fantastic icon. Motson was born in Salford, July 10th, 1945, and that's when his school was known for rugby union hockey, as in field hockey and cricket, not soccer. But anyway, he actually covered football for the Sheffield Morning Telegraph by 1968. BBC actually hired him as a sports presenter in that year on Radio 2 and would start to do commentary. His famous match, which people stood up and took notice, was in 1972 in a FA Cup replay between Hereford, Hereford, and Newcastle. It was supposed to be a 5-minute segment following a few games. However, the great Ronnie Radford goal, when he blasted it from 30 yards out and helped Hereford shock Newcastle, was huge, and it got Monty into the stratosphere and all that. It was a third round thing and all that. It has been described as one of the biggest, if not the greatest, giant killing of all time, but I have my doubts. But anyway, Motson believed that because of his call of the Radford goal, he got a 3-year deal out of it. He might not have had a TV commentary career, he said. His famous commentary was, "Oh, what a goal! Radford the scorer! Ronnie Radford! And the crowd are on the pitch! What a tremendous shot by Ronnie Radford!" Anyway, Monty actually started doing the FA Cup final by 1977 when Man U took on Liverpool. Motson was actually a late replacement for David Coleman, who was in a dispute with the BBC. And his famous line was, "How fitting that a man called Buchan should be the first to climb the 39 steps," because the Scottish author John Buchan wrote the 39 steps, and Martin Buchan was Man U captain and received the FA Cup. And the 39 steps is to the Royal Box at Wembley, at Old Wembley. Motson, between 1979 and 2008, except for a 2-year gap in the mid-90s, broadcast every FA Cup for the BBC. Motson was there when Hillsborough happened. Of course, a shortened version is that Liverpool and Nottingham Forest were playing the FA Cup semi-final on a neutral ground like they used to, and all of a sudden Liverpool fans were crowded into one end of the stadium, and that crush happened and 97 people passed away. So Motson was there commentating on a tragedy rather than a football match. And he was part of the Hillsborough inquiry because he was, a witness, because he was there. Anyway, Motson was in many video games as the main commentator and all that. In fact, a speech therapist in 2001 said that Motson had the best results of any TV or radio commentator for soccer, and that includes pitch, volume, rhythm, and tone. After the Premier League moved to ITV by 2001, and No Match of the Day, Motson went back to radio for BBC Radio 5, but he would do some live TV coverage too. But when the BBC got the Premier League back in 2004, he was back at his normal spot on Match of the Day and doing his big stuff and all that. Motson decided to retire from live commentary in 2008 following the loss of BBC's coverage of the FA Cup and the fact that they would not allow Motson to join Satenda Sports to do FA Cup football. So he did a lot of things and all that. He actually commentated on the CBeebies, as in a children's thing called Footy Pups. So yeah, he was a commentator for the FIFA video game series for EA Sports. So yeah, I've got to remember that. So Motson was part of FIFA 96 till 2006. So obviously I've got to find something for the tribute match and all that. But anyway, yeah. So he still was with BBC, but not too big. Anyway, he did TV commentate Crystal Palace versus West Brom in 2018. There were some major programs for BBC Two when he retired. Monty Mastermind, as in the famous quiz bowl game Mastermind. But Motson's comment, all about Monty and all that. Monty, the man behind the sheepskin, because, he was famous for that sheepskin coat. And Countdown to the Full Monty. I don't know what that was about. Anyway, he actually lived in Buckinghamshire with his wife Anne and married for 43 years. Only one child, and that's Frederick. So Motson really liked Lincolnshire and all that. He was named an OBE, Officer of the Order of British Empire, or basically the equivalent to the Order of Canada, for his services to sports broadcasting. John Motson also did some promotional work and appeared on a few episodes of the famous sports quiz show They Think It's All Over, in which, he wowed everyone with his knowledge of the soccer stuff and all that, and gave Gary Lineker, Roy McGrath, Lee Hurst, and David Gower some pause about his answers and all that. You should see it. I think it's all over with John Motson. Those episodes were fantastic. When John Motson passes